Sri Sai Ram. Each of Lyn's talks has been recorded before she went to the hospital. She is recovering well. She is doing better each day, as said by her sister. So let us keep on praying for Lyn, and in future there will be other talks by other speakers as well. That is what has been planned, and that is what Lyn is wish as well. She has uh, let me know that was her desire when uh, we were talking before she went to the hospital, because the main focus of this channel, yes, our main focus is on Swami, but we also focus on various topics of various saints' paths to the lead to the divine. Om Sri Sai Ram. Happy listening.
ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओं। गणानां त्वा गणपतिगं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पदान् शृण्वन्नोतिभिस्सेदसादनं प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजिदेवते दीनामवित्रयवतो गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। ओम साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ओम जयन्ती मंगलकाली भद्रकाली कपालिनी दुर्गा क्षमा शिवधात्री स्वाहा स्वधा नमोस्तुते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। Sairam Lyn, Sairam from Malaysia.
Sairam Sharma, Sairam from New Zealand. Thank you, Swami, for allowing Sharma and I to present this most important talk, we feel, on the question of being reborn. That is our topic today, on the question of being reborn. And a loving welcome to all of our listeners, wherever you may be. We welcome each and every one of you with our love. Om Sri Sai Ram. The question of rebirth comes up again and again once a person begins to understand or accept the concept of reincarnation or rebirth. And we can do no better than to quote Bhagawan. He says, death means the fading out of the I consciousness. That's the letter I, not E-Y-E. The I consciousness. Rebirth happens when I consciousness comes again. This is what is called birth and death. Ego is born, ego dies, that is all. And what is ego? Ego thinks that you are a body. Ego is not arrogance or thinking that you're better than other people. That is something quite different from ego. Ego is thinking that you are just this body, that everything that happens to you is a result of your body and what your senses tell you, and that you are this casing of transient flesh, and you are not that. And that is part of the goal of spiritual maturity. Once you realize that you are not the body, and it's a real solid realization, it's not some vague intellectual idea, then you have made tremendous progress on your spiritual path. Now, you will see the word sadgati, that is the soul, and or the Atma, as Swami has explained. And the sadgati means that after death, the spirit is in the right place in the spiritual world, in its destined place. It doesn't wander around without a body. This is what some people might call ghosts. People who are caught. People who are stuck. People who don't know who they are. People who just want to hang around the body that they have left, or perhaps the place that has been buried or cremated, or they want to hang around the family where they came from, or the house, or perhaps a pet, or even their office place. And indeed, the lovely late Peggy Mason of the United Kingdom Psi organization told me once that in her meditation, she was working in a hospice. I think she said she was helping a friend of hers in a hospice. You know, this is where people who are terminally ill go to pass away with some modicum of comfort and care. And she saw a gentleman pass away. And then when she came back a few days later, she found herself sinking into a meditation. And this man had been a businessman in his life. He'd been a very, very busy businessman. You know, go to the office every day, briefcase in hand, bowler hat on his head, tweed suit. And she saw him still wandering around, trying to go to work. His spirit was trying to go to work. He was in his astral form. He was still carrying a briefcase. He still was wearing his suit and his bowler hat, and he was looking around where he used to go for his job. Well, it didn't exist, did it? Not in the spirit world. And so he began to construct out of the ether a little house for himself, and a wife who was there waiting for him. This can all be manufactured by the soul when it is confused and wandering around, when it has not gone to the right place for its destination. It becomes trapped in the in between worlds, as you might say. And some people call these are ghosts, but they're not really ghosts. This is just an impression that they leave, like an imprint of themselves. But because they had not done the spiritual work, the spiritual maturity work on themselves, they were really inhabited a kind of a place in between. Now, some cultures call this the bardo. And I'm not going to describe it really well. I have experienced parts of what life after death is like, but I never experienced this particular area. But Peggy Mason saw it very clearly. She was a highly gifted psychic and Psi devotee. And so the person, after they pass away, if they have not done the spiritual work on themselves to the extent that they go to the place where they are meant to go, they simply construct the world as they knew it, which they can do. And they carry on pretending to go to work. Of course, there's no work to go to. So it must be very confusing for them. So you don't want to be stuck in that sort of situation. This is why Swami says this lifetime is the most wonderful, precious chance to escape this wheel of birth and death, so that you don't need to keep coming back. You don't need to keep learning lessons over and over again in this world of pain and pleasure. Because one of the things he teaches is to see pain and pleasure as the same thing. Life is a pain between two pleasures and a pleasure between two pains. This is what Swami taught us. I can still hear him saying it and holding his hands up to in a gesture of showing the pain is in between two pleasures. The pleasure is in between two pains. Now, growing up in the West, we were all terrified of death. I grew up in America, and death was something we were all petrified of, firstly as children and as teenagers and even as young adults and well into our middle age. It wasn't until my family began to enter their 70s. I remember when my mother hit 70, she said grimly, "Well, I've had my 70 years." Now, in the Bible, it says this is what you are allotted. This is 70 years. 70 is 20. So 70 is 60 plus 10. and she knew her Bible very well. And she believed every word of it. And so the Bible says you're allowed 70 years. When she hit her 70th birthday, she was not happy. She said, now look at this. Now my time is up. Well, fortunately, my mother lived to be 102. So she certainly lived past that, but she didn't want to die. And I have said that, notice this with everyone. If you ask anyone, are you ready to die today? They go, oh, no, I have an appointment. I have to go shopping, got to walk the dog. I'm looking forward to the weather tomorrow. No, not today. Thank you very much. And Swami says that he is the photographer. And in other words, he is the one in charge of life and death. He has a camera. He said, be at any moment ready for the camera to click. In other words, to leave the body. Because he is the photographer. He said, only I am in charge of life and death. And this was corroborated to me by the doctors at the super hospital. They said time and again, they witnessed someone on the table who shouldn't have made it, through the operation. And not only did they recover, but they went on to lead a long, happy life. Whereas someone who had a minor problem suddenly passed away on the table. Shouldn't have happened. And this is what the doctors told me. This is what taught them that only God is in charge of life and death. So the question of rebirth is very complicated, but also very simple. And why is that? Because Swami has said that when the spirit leaves the body, and with death, he said there is only one common denominator, and that is a body is left behind. What happens to the spirit afterwards has everything to do with the spiritual progress that they have made. Now, Swami told Mademoiselle that this was her last lifetime. She had devoted thousands of years thousands of rebirths in various different, born into different faiths, different religions, different cultures, and whatever it had been, she had always worked for God. And so whatever she had done in this life was surely her last, because Swami had blessed her so greatly. He even told her in an interview, this is your last lifetime. And she was able to pass away with that promise from Swami in her mind as she slipped away. The thing was, she had a very severe case of pneumonia, but she didn't even realize how ill she was, and she was planning to come up to Auckland 6 hours away on that day to give yet another talk about Swami. Now here is a great soul whose very last day on earth, she is planning to travel 6 hours with a case of serious pneumonia to talk about Swami. This is God-centered consciousness. This is consciousness constantly immersed in her divine Lord. That is what we should aim for. I am not in any position to describe what is going to happen to any of you after you leave the body. But if you go with the name of Sai on your lips, if you are planning to speak about Swami, if your every thought, word, and deed you are giving to Swami, you will have, I think your scorecard will be very high as to having a wonderful passing. Om Shri Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Om Tasmat Karunya Bhavena Raksha Raksha Sai Ishvara. Hari Om Tasmat Hari Om Tatsat Sri Sai Ishvara Arpanamastu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.